Hey everyone, so I'm going to go through the rules for significant figures because some of you said you'd like to have some videos to help you kind of, review what things are going to be on the exam. Alright, so there are basically 4 different rules for significant figures. Alright, the first rule states that all numbers 1 through 9 are significant. So if you have a number that has, 356, so let's say we have the number 356. This number has 3 significant figures. So if you look at a number and it basically has, all 1 through 9s, then all of those numbers are going to be significant. But things get kind of tricky whenever we start adding zeros. So the next rule says that all zeros that are between 2 numbers, and they're what are called captured zeros, are significant. So for example, here we have 0.303. So this 0 here is captured between these 2 3's, so therefore it is significant. So it has 3 significant figures. Alright, the 0 here is not significant, but we'll get into that later. That's one of the other rules. Alright, so the 0 here is what they call captured. So since it is captured between 2 other numbers, 1 through 9, then it is significant. Alright, so that's the second rule. The third rule basically states that zeros that are at the end of a number are only significant if the number has a decimal. So for example, this one is 0.00030. So this 0 at the very end is significant because the number has a decimal. If we had the number, let's say we had the number 30,000, like this, alright, these zeros are not significant because there's no decimal. So this number here only has 1, and I'm abbreviating sig fig. Alright, so remember the decimal, there's no decimal here, so the zeros at the end of the number are not significant, so this number only has 1 significant figure. Alright, next one. The zeros after a decimal but before the first number are not significant. So for example, in this one, we've got 0.000457. The zeros that are here, these zeros are not significant. So therefore, we only have to count these numbers here because they're numbers 1 through 9. Alright, so 4, 5, and 7. This number has 3 significant figures, or 3 sig figs. Okay? Alright, so a couple more notes about significant figures. If you have a number, like let's say 0.0055 or something like that, this 0 here does also not count. These zeros don't count because they're after the decimal before the first number. That was basically this rule right here. Alright, so I've got a couple of examples for you. Alright, so it says, how many significant figures are in each of the following? Alright, so for this first one up here at the top, it says 156, and remember, numbers 1 through 9 are always significant. So this one has 3 sig figs, and I'm abbreviating significant figures as sig figs. Alright, this one here is 0.00234. So numbers that are in front of the first number and after the decimal are not significant. So this one is also going to have 3 sig figs. Alright, this next one here, we've got 0.5470. So this decimal is right here, and this 0 is at the end. So since it has a decimal here, this 0 at the very end, this 0 is significant. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. This one has 4 sig figs. Okay? Alright, next one is 0.000577. Alright, so 0.000577. These zeros here are after the decimal but before the first number, so they are not significant. So this one is going to have 3 sig figs. Alright, next one, we've got 63,000. So these zeros are at the end of a number, but there's no decimal here, so they are not significant. So this one only has 2 sig figs. Alright, number 6. 5,004. These zeros here are what they call captured, so therefore they are significant, so we're going to count them. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's going to be 4 sig figs here. All right, number 7, this 0 here is, again, it is captured between the two 5s. All right, so since it is captured, this one is going to have 3 sig figs. All right, and then finally number 8, this 0 is at the end of a number, but there's no decimal, so it is not significant. So this one has 2 sig figs. All right, so now looking at the study guide for the exam, it says how many sig figs are in each of the following. All right, so this first one is 125. That one's going to have 3 because all these numbers, are 1 through 9. All right, this one here, this is a 0 that is after the decimal but before the first number, so it is not significant. So this one has 2 sig figs. All right, in the next one, this 0 here is captured between two other non-zero numbers, the 2's. So this 0 is significant. So this is what they call the captured 0. So then this one has 3 significant figures. All right, the next one, we've got this 0 here that's at the end of a number. And since it has a decimal, it's at the end of the number. This one is significant, so that one also has 3. All right, for this one here, these 3 zeros are after a decimal before the first number, so they are not significant. This this 0 here is captured between the two 9s, so this one that's significant. And this one's at the end of a number, and the number has a decimal, so therefore it is also significant. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. All right, next one, we've got 65,000. These numbers are at the end of a number, and there is no decimal, so we're only going to have to count the first 2. All right, this one here has zeros that are at the end of the number, but there is a decimal, so therefore all of these zeros are going to be significant. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that one's 4 significant figures. This one's a weird one. It has a decimal, but there is no number on the other side, so since it has a decimal, this 0 is significant. So that's going to be 2. This one here, this 0 is not significant. It's after the decimal but before the first number, so it's not significant. This 0 is significant because it's at the end of the number and the number has a decimal. So this one is only going to be 2. And then finally, this 0 is not significant because it's at the end of the number but the number does not have a decimal. So this one is 3. All right, so I kind of tried to keep that short and sweet. If you have any questions, please let me know.